Okay, so starting lying down, I'm recommending lying on your belly, but again, if lying on your back is more comfortable for you, go right ahead. Either way, let your head come to the floor. If you are on your belly, I would recommend putting maybe hands under your forehead or turning your face to one side so that your cheek can rest. Today, we are focusing on our heart chakra, which is called your Anahata, which is translated roughly to unhurt or unstruck chord, something along those lines. And the heart chakra is associated with love, as one might assume, but in a grander sense, compassion, empathy, and forgiveness. So when it's open, it's able to, you're able to maybe act with a little more empathy toward others, toward yourself, compassion toward others, toward yourself, forgiveness, etc. It also happens to be the connection point between the lower three chakras and the upper three chakras on the spine. So I kind of think of this as like the integration point of the physical body to sort of the mental body. You know, from heart up, you don't have a lot of movement. So it's going to be a little bit more heady, a little more mental, I guess, up there. So integrating physical body and the mind is kind of what I like to think about here. So with that in mind, letting your body come to the earth, focusing on your breath, lying on your belly, maybe you feel your breath a little bit differently than when you lie on your back. So for those of you that are lying on your belly, maybe as you inhale, think about feeling a little bit of space between your shoulder blades as you inhale, feeling the back body kind of lift away from the floor. And then as you exhale, maybe allowing the rib cage to collapse back toward the floor a little bit. Just kind of experiencing your breath and the way that it shifts your body. Check in with your mind. See if you can be an observer of your own mind's movements. Starting by just beginning to notice thoughts that come up. as they come up. And without judgment, without needing to hold on to them or associate any emotion to them, maybe seeing if you can let them pass and come back to where you are. And also, if the thought doesn't seem to pass today, giving yourself that compassion, that forgiveness. Having some patience with yourself is really, I think, really important. And much more useful to bringing yourself back eventually to where you are, rather than dwelling on it or becoming anxious or frustrated with yourself. So take another moment here, just kind of beginning by checking in with the body, the breath, and the mind. When you're ready for a little bit of movement, start by just taking your arms overhead on the floor, even if you're lying on your belly. Just kind of stretching your arms out overhead, maybe kind of tenting your fingertips on the floor, and just letting your arms lift. Curl your right toes under, press your heel back, stretch out your right leg, and then lay the leg back down. Trying that on the left side. Curl the toes under, press the heel back, let the hip, the thigh, the shin, the top of the foot come down. Take your arms down by your sides now. And press your palms into the floor on either side of your chest. Really feel that connection of hand to floor, hand to earth. Begin by just rolling your head, neck, and chest away from the floor a little bit. Any amount is great. Just feel that lift, that activation of what muscles in your back body are working to lift you up off the floor that way. And then lower yourself back down. Try that again. So press your hands into the earth, roll your shoulders into your back, point your elbows backward toward your heels. Lift head, neck, chest off the floor. Maybe coming up a little bit higher if you'd like to this time. And then go ahead and lower yourself back down on your exhale. Last time. Press your hands into the earth, roll shoulders up and back. Lift head, neck, chest off the floor. And if you'd like, maybe lift yourself a little higher. Coming up into our cobra pose. Take one more round of breath here, maybe thinking about pulling your chest forward between your arms. And then lower yourself back down on your exhale. Take your right hand out to the side on the floor. So right hand on the earth, out to the side, stretching your arm out. You can also do this with your elbow bent at like a goalpost arm position. And if your shoulders are feeling particularly tight, you can also just kind of tuck your arm underneath you. So take this as far as you feel comfortable going today. Hand on the floor, palm face down. Turn your head away from that arm and let it rest on the floor. And then take your left hand and press it into the earth to sort of start rolling yourself up and over so that your hips stack, your left foot is in the air, or maybe you bend the foot and tap it to the floor behind you. Your right hand, the one that's behind you on the floor, open that hand and press the palm into the earth. Roll your shoulder into your back. And if you'd like to, if you're really loving this and you want to get a little more into your chest, you can lift your left hand off the floor and hover it in the air overhead. If you're not loving this, you can always walk your arm more overhead and kind of make this just an open twist with your foot coming behind you and your left hand up in the sky. So take one more breath here. And at the bottom of your exhale, come out the way you came in. So top hand comes back to the floor and helps you back towards your belly. Take both hands back towards your midline. So under your head or down by your sides. And let's try the left side now. So left hand reaches out on the floor, palm face down. Turn your face away from that hand. Let your head come down. Press your right hand into the floor just to help you up and over with your hips. So your pelvis kind of lifts up and over, your right hip is on top. The palm that's on the floor, open the fingers and press the palm into the earth, your left hand behind you. If you'd like, you can lift that top hand, your right hand, up to the sky. Maybe open those fingers and kind of stretch them out a little bit. And at the bottom of your next exhale, gently come out the way you came in, rolling yourself back toward the earth, bringing your hands back toward your center, letting yourself rest. When you're ready, pressing yourself up to tabletop. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Find that nice long line from your tailbone to the crown of your head and see if you can think about stretching it a little longer, like you're getting more space between each vertebra of your spine, each of the vertebrae, all of the vertebrae, vertebra. I haven't taken Latin in a long time, so bear with me. I think it's vertebrae is the plural. Yes, okay. Stretch them out, whatever they are, your backbones. Take them from your tailbone to the crown of your head. And if you traction your hands on the floor, like you're actually trying to pull your mat up, bunch it up between your hands and your knees, you might kind of feel that activation of like belly muscles activating to move hands toward knees, and maybe you feel a little length through your spine. You can also try the opposite direction if that's not working for you. I find that kind of helps me feel that a little more. Take a couple rounds of cat and cow at your own pace on your breath. So cow pose is dropping the belly toward the floor, lifting the head and the back of the hips. And cat pose is lifting your spine up through your back body. Ooh, curling head in toward chest, chin to chest, tailbone tucks into the belly. I'm going to give you probably like 3 or 4 rounds of breath here. So take your time, move at whatever pace works best for you. And feel free to pause anywhere that you feel like you need to stay there for a moment. Maybe wiggle, maybe move forward, backward. Last round. Even yourself out so you get an equal amount of cats and cows. And then come back to center. So hands, shoulders over hands, knees over hips. I mean, hips over knees. If you've got your blanket nearby, I would recommend grabbing it for the next exercise. Probably like fold it about this big, this, so that you've got maybe an inch or so under your knees. If you're on a pretty well padded surface, like a nice cushiony carpet, you might not need this. I would recommend trying it, and then if you don't need it, you can always remove it. So go ahead and get your knees padded, and do this in such a way that your knees and your shins are on the towel or blanket, but your feet can kind of dangle off the back end so that your ankles don't have to be totally extended. You can kind of let them be a little more loose. Take your knees wide when you get there and sit yourself back to child's pose. So hips back, heart forward, head coming toward the floor. Just taking a second to let your hips settle backward, head coming forward, and maybe stretch your arms out on the floor. So like walk your hands away from your shoulders and then plug your shoulders into your back. So you get this length through your arms, lifting your elbows off the floor, kind of feeling your heart coming toward the floor a little bit. At the bottom of your next exhale, walk your hands backward towards your knees. So you're just kind of sitting in this crouch sort of position. Still child's pose-ish, but now we're more upright. Okay, take your right hand to the back of your head. And just notice where your elbow lands. For me, my elbow kind of rolls inward and forward a little bit, and that's totally fine. Take your shoulder, roll your shoulder up and back a little bit so that you kind of like plug your shoulder into your back. It's kind of that concept or idea. On your next exhale, take your elbow and point it downward toward your opposite knee. So you're kind of twisting, rotating, pulling inward. On your inhale, lift the elbow up toward the sky and open your heart a little bit toward the side wall. Exhale, pull the elbow in and down toward your knee. Inhale, rotate it open and up to the sky. And take one or two more of those at your own pace. Ending with a lift to the sky, and then let go of your head. Bring your hand back to the floor. And we'll do the other side really quickly. So left hand to the back of your head. Plug your shoulder into your back. So roll your shoulder kind of up and back, and then plug it down into your back. Take that elbow and point it downward toward the opposite knee. Inhale, lifting the elbow back up to the sky. Exhale, pulling into your belly a little bit, rotating chest. And take a few more at your own pace on your breath. Go until you feel about even with the opposite side, so left and right sides are balanced. And then ending with pointing the elbow to the sky. Take that hand back to the floor. Take yourself back to tabletop. Remove your blanket from underneath your knees if you put one there. Curl your toes under. Open your hands and press the whole palms into the floor. Roll your shoulders into your back. So plug your shoulders into your back. Make your arms nice and strong. So extend your arms and wrap the arms onto the bones, the muscles onto the bones. Curl your toes under. Sit your hips back and lift your hips and your knees up off the floor, coming towards downward dog. Give yourself the time and patience and compassion that you need in this moment. This is the first downward dog. And actually, I think it'll probably be the only downward dog of our class. I could be lying though. So give yourself a really wide stance if you'd like to. You can take your hands really wide. You can keep your knees super bent here and just focus on bringing your hips up and back, letting your head come down. And if you need to come to puppy pose or child's pose instead today, feel free to take one of those variations. You can also bring your forearms to the floor if that feels better for you. Wherever you land, take 2 more breaths here in downward dog. It's a challenging pose, but I'm not going to make you do it all day. When you're ready, on your next inhale, take a deep bend at the knees, look forward, and come to the front of your mat, forward fold. Maybe take your feet wide again here if you'd like to, if that feels good for your body. Feel the soles of your feet pressing into the earth. You can keep your knees really bent to start. And see if by bending your knees, you can let your head come downward a little more, letting your neck and jaw release. Maybe shaking your head a little yes and no. Maybe clasping your elbows, opposite elbows, and just letting your torso loosen up a little bit, letting your shoulders hang a little bit. Now taking your hands behind your legs, or to the sides of your legs, either way. I want you to actually touch your legs with your hands so that you can get a good hold on them. On your next exhale, see if you can lift your hips away from your heels and extend your legs. So unbend your knees a little bit and maybe press your palms into your calf muscles or pull on your legs a little bit with your hands. As you inhale, bend your knees and release that movement. So bend your knees, let yourself hang. On your exhale, try that again. Extend your legs, lift your hips a little bit more, maybe. And on your inhale, let yourself bend your knees, let yourself hang. Try that once more. Exhale, extend your knees, maybe press palms into calves and pull your chest a little closer. Inhale, bend the knees, let yourself hang. On your next inhale, press palms to shins. Lift yourself to halfway lift. Extend your spine long. And if you prefer, you can do forearms to thighs here. I find that actually gives me a little bit more of a sense of length through my spine, kind of that tractioning on the floor when we did tabletop. Similar concept, pressing forearms to thighs. Exhaling, come back to forward fold. Bend your knees and bring yourself all the way up to standing. You can roll your spine, you can float yourself up. Dig your heels in, lift your palms overhead, take an inhale, open your rib cage. Exhale, palms to heart center. Take a moment just to feel your feet on the floor. Shift your weight into your left foot. Shift your weight into your right foot. Shift your weight into your toes and into your heels. And then come back to somewhere in the middle of those 4 directions, the center of your compass. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your hips centered over your feet. Feel your heart centered over hips and your head right on top of your heart. On your next inhale, sweep your palms overhead. Exhale, swan dive to forward fold. Inhale, come to halfway lift. Exhale, step yourself back to plank with knees up or down. That's your choice, knees up or down. Inhale, pull your heart between your arms forward toward the front of your mat. Pull your chest forward. And on your exhale, bend your elbows backward, lower yourself down toward the floor. Inhale, press palms into the earth. Lift yourself off the floor any amount. So a little bit of back bend, your choice. And then exhale, press yourself up and back. I did lie, I'm sorry. We're coming back to downward dog or child's pose, your choice. Wherever you land, hips a little higher than head, at least. Might be a lot higher, might be a little higher. Take one more round of breath. Take a deep bend at the knees. Look forward, inhale. Exhale to bring yourself to the front of your mat. Forward fold. Inhale, come to halfway lift. Exhale, dig your heels in. Rise to standing. Inhale, sweep your palms overhead. And exhale, palms together down to heart center. Inhale, palms overhead. Exhale, chair pose. Center your feet on the floor between or underneath your hips. Activate your nice strong leg muscles onto the bones. Sit your hips back and down. Grow your spine tall. Roll your shoulders down your back. Lift your head away from your hips. And then grow your hands into the sky at any degree. It doesn't matter. They don't have to be upright. They can be out in front of you, as long as your hands are kind of reaching open into the air. Take one more round of breath. And on your exhale, come to forward fold. Inhale, come to halfway lift. Exhale, sit back to chair once more. Inhale, grow your spine long. Exhale, palms to heart center, twist toward your right. So take your chest and your face and turn to your right. If you'd like to hook your elbow, maybe between your legs or to the outer thigh, that's fine. Also, not mandatory by any means. So take one more breath here. Exhale, come back to forward fold. Inhale, come to halfway lift. Exhale, tense your fingertips, bend your knees. Lift your right foot off the floor. Bend the knee in the air, standing on your left foot. Lift your kneecap toward the sky, your right kneecap lifting toward the sky, like you're trying to kick your heel toward your butt. Lift your kneecap upward. And then extend that leg nice and long up into the air, getting this rooted connection of the left foot on the floor, pulling that energy up into the hips, and then shooting it up and out through the flying foot. Take one more breath. And on your exhale, bend the standing leg, float the flying foot toward the back of your mat. Put weight into both feet. So take a second, bend both knees, shift your weight around. And on your next inhale, begin to lift yourself up to standing. So high lunge. On your next inhale, grow your arms up to the sky. Exhale, right hand forward, left hand backward, open twist. Inhale, flip your front palm to the sky, reach up and back, and take your left hand somewhere on your back body. Doesn't matter, palm or back of hand. I personally find back of hand to be more comfortable, to maybe my low back or to the back of your thigh. And take one more breath, reach up and back. Exhale, come back to that open twist. Inhale, both hands overhead. And we'll come to warrior one. So back foot down. Hips are still pointing more or less toward the front of your mat. Back foot on an angle. So not exactly warrior 2 foot, more pointing a little more forward, but your back heel can come down a little bit. And if this is putting a lot of strain on that tendon at the back of your ankle, feel free to stay in kind of like high lunge instead. So feel free to try out either option. Hips rotating mostly forward. Inhale, reach palms overhead. Exhale, palms down behind you. If you've got your strap, you may want it here. I should have said this first, excuse me. Taking the strap behind you to just grab between your 2 hands. You can then walk your hands together. If you can reach and grab both hands together and clasp them, and you prefer that, go ahead and take that alternative. Wherever you land, make sure that you've got something between your 2 hands. Press your fist away from your shoulders, so you're extending your arms a little bit. Inhale, lift your heart away from your hips toward the sky. And on your exhale, take your belly toward your thigh, coming to humble warrior. And you can let your head come down if you'd like, kind of releasing your neck and your jaw. Maybe lifting your fists overhead toward the front of your mat, kind of rolling your shoulders forward a little bit. Take one more breath. On your exhale, use belly muscles pulling in towards spine to lift you back up. Inhale, reach your palms back overhead, kind of shake them out a little bit. And on your next exhale, open to warrior 2. So now we are rotating that back foot to be about parallel to the back edge of your mat. Hips are opening side to side. Still kind of on an angle potentially, so then just rotate your chest toward the long edge of your mat and grow your arms right out over your legs. Turn your gaze forward toward that front hand. Inhale, flip that front palm, reach up and back, straighten out your front leg. Exhale, come back to warrior 2. Inhale, reach your torso forward, forearm to thigh, take that top arm, give yourself some shoulder openers, some air guitar circles. Reach that top arm way overhead. And then on your next exhale, come back to warrior 2. Extend your front leg, rotate both feet toward the long edge of your mat now. So they're both facing the same direction, toes facing the long edge of your mat. Take your hands to your hips. Feel that bony protrusion at the top of your hips. Kind of grab it in your hands. Look at your knees. See if you can get your knees to face forwards rather than rolling downward toward the floor. That's my own personal thing. So just see if you can pay a little attention to that. Lift up from your feet up to your hips, and then take your hips like they're doorknobs and turn them towards the floor. So give your knees a little bend, rotate your hips toward the floor, and keep rotating them so that your spine follows and you start to come forward toward this straddle fold. You can bring your hands to the floor or to your legs once you've gone as far as you'd like to go. Check in with your knees, lift your hips, bend your knees a little. Bring your hands to the floor now, if they aren't already, or a block, whatever. Keep your maybe extend your hands forward on the floor, so you've got kind of like a long, wide-legged downward dog kind of pose here. Take your right hand and reach it to your opposite leg, so toward your left leg. And it's okay if you don't quite get to the leg either. Just kind of reaching underneath, rotating your chest so that you're rotating into a twist. If you do grab your leg, maybe you use that to pull yourself into the twist a little more. Maybe you just kind of hang out and let that be right there. All right, come back to center. So both hands out on the floor, that kind of awkward down dog. And then take your left hand and do the opposite. Left hand toward right leg. Rotating your chest into a twist, kind of looking underneath your right armpit toward the sky. Take one more breath. And then hands back to center. Walk them back underneath you. Bend your knees. Roll yourself back up to standing. Inhale, sweep your palms overhead. Exhale, palms down to hips. Turn your feet back toward the front of your mat, coming back onto your back heel. Back into that high lunge. Inhale, palms overhead. Exhale, come down to frame your front foot with your hands and step your back foot forward. Let yourself hang for a moment. Inhale, come to halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Dig your heels in, rise to standing. Inhale, sweep your palms overhead. Exhale, palms to heart center. And take a moment here. Reset, check back in. When you're ready, sweep your palms back overhead. Exhale, come to chair pose. Sitting back and down. Inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, back to chair pose. Find some length through your spine. Lift your heart away from your hips. Exhale, palms to heart center. And twist toward your left, so chest rotating to the left side wall. Maybe you hook your elbow. Maybe you stay elevated. Take one more breath here. Exhale, back to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, tense your fingers. Bend your knees. Stand on your right foot. Lift your left foot off the floor. Inhale, lift that kneecap toward the sky. Extend that foot long into the air now. Finding that connection of your right foot on the floor, pulling the energy up into your hips, and then pressing it out through your flying foot. Inhale. Exhale, bend your standing leg, bend your knee, float your flying foot to the back of your mat. Awesome. On your next inhale, find your weight balance between both feet. Lift yourself up off your legs, torso off your legs, coming to this high lunge. Inhale, sweep your palms overhead. Exhale, left hand forward, right hand back, open twist. Inhale, flip your front palm, reach up and back. Take your right hand to your back body somewhere. Take one more breath. Exhale, back to open twist. Inhale, both palms overhead. Exhale, warrior one. So back heel down, foot on kind of an angle, still pointing mostly forward, but a little to the side. Hips face straight ahead. Heart over hips, head over heart, arms overhead. Inhale. Exhale, palms down to your low back. If you used a strap and you'd like to use your strap again, go ahead and grab your strap or clasp your hands, either way. Extend your fists away from your shoulders. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, fold forward, bringing your heart towards your knee, belly toward thigh. Maybe letting your head kind of droop down, loosening out your neck. And maybe lifting your fist overhead toward the front of your mat, rolling your shoulders forward a little bit, opening up your armpits a little bit. One more breath. On your exhale, use belly muscles to rise back to standing. Inhale, sweep your palms overhead. Exhale, open to warrior two. I'm just going to rotate so I can see you. So back foot about parallel to the back edge of your mat. Hips opening to the sides. Rotate your chest toward the long edge of your mat. Grow your arms out over your legs. Turn your gaze forward. Inhale, flip your front palm to the sky. Reach up and back, straighten out your front leg. Open up the side body. Exhale, back to warrior two. Inhale, reach forward, forearm to thigh. And then take that top arm into some nice big guitar circles. Side angle, reaching the side body open a little bit, and then grow that top arm overhead towards the front of your mat. On your next exhale, press back to warrior two. Straighten out your front leg and turn the foot inward so that both feet are now pointing toward the long edge of your mat. Inhale, palms overhead. Exhale, palms to hips. Bend your knees, plant your feet, rotate your hips forward, and let your spine follow. Coming down into that forward fold. Keep your knees bent as much as you want. Let your hands come to the earth. Maybe play with shifting your weight between your toes and your heels. Just kind of feel that out. And then find somewhere right in the middle. And then, if you'd like, you can walk your hands underneath you, behind your heels, towards the other side of your mat. So you're kind of pulling your chest underneath your hips a little bit. Take one more breath. Exhale, walk your hands back underneath you. Inhale, bend your knees, roll yourself back up to standing. Take your palms overhead and rotate yourself back toward the front of your mat. So hips rotate forward, lift your back heel, coming back into that high lunge. Front foot forward. Inhale, palms overhead. Exhale, palms down, frame your front foot and step your back foot forward. Inhale, come to halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, dig your heels in, rise to standing. Inhale, palms overhead. Exhale, palms to heart center. On your next inhale, sweep your palms overhead. Exhale, swan dive to forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, both hands down. Step yourself backward to tabletop and come onto your seat. Whatever is a comfortable seat for you right now, we won't be here for super long. While we're here, grab your blankets or towels and let's roll them up, make ourselves a little bolster. Let me just shift my camera so you can see what I'm doing. So I would recommend opening both blankets or towels. Kind of open them up a little bit, the width of your shoulders or a little wider. Actually, probably a good amount wider so that you don't roll off of it. So I'm going to start with probably about this wide. And I'm going to stack the two of them one on top of each other, just nice and flat on the floor. And then start to just roll them together so that you get a more even bolster than if you were to just kind of, stack one on top of each other. And it should be a little bit firm, but have a softness to it. And it can be as high or as low as you want. This will be what we put behind our back for our supported fish pose. So if you get there and you're like all tensed up in your neck and you're not liking it, you can always unroll it a level or keep unrolling or just take it out from under you entirely. Totally up to you. So now that we've got that, awesome, thank you. Set that aside. And coming to your seat in whatever is a comfortable seat for you. I personally prefer to sit with my knees bent rather than with my knees out to the side. So kind of sitting on my shins with a block under my hips. That's what works best for me, but find what works best for you. Inhale, take your palms overhead. Exhale, palms to heart center. Inhale, both palms back overhead. Exhale, left hand down, right hand reaches up and over. Sit your right sit bone down toward the earth and reach your top hand overhead. Think about rotating your chest away from the floor and getting length through both sides. Awesome, that looks really great. Nice job, guys. Take one more breath. Exhale. Use belly muscles to lift yourself back up to center. And go the other way. So right hand down, left hand reaching. And sit your left hip downward as you reach your left hand overhead. Again, rotate that chest a little bit away from the floor towards the side wall of your room. Take one more breath. Exhale, use belly muscles to raise yourself back up to center. Exhale, palms together to the middle of your chest. And let's come on to our backs. And we'll come right into our fish. So before you lie down entirely, you may want to just set up your bolster in a place that works best for you so that you can get your chest to kind of lay on top of it. So just underneath your shoulder blades. So like right about here. Some people say like at your bra line, if that helps anybody that's in the room. Just under your shoulder blades is going to be where this bolster rests so that your shoulders can kind of roll off the bolster backward into the sides a little bit, and your arms can rest over it, on top of it, or above it, I guess, on the floor. Again, if this is too much, feel free to remove the bolster, come out of it entirely. You can also bend your knees and bring your feet to the floor if that's a little more comfortable on your back. Check in with your breath. Notice how different it is to breathe when something is supporting your back. How different that is from the beginning of class when our chest was being supported by the floor, if you were lying on your belly. We'll be coming to Shavasana next. If you'd like to stay on your bolster, you're welcome to stay as long as you'd like. If you'd like to move the bolster out of your way, if you'd like to add a blanket or socks or change your lighting, go right ahead, make whatever adjustments you need. And as always, lying on your back is not mandatory. So if lying on your side or on your belly feels better for you today, take whatever reclined or lying down position works best in your body. Allow yourself to land. Allow yourself to be here as much as you can today. Check in with your body, with your breath, with your mind. Heart chakra is about love, compassion, forgiveness. But just like the rule on the airplane, if you don't take care of your own well-being, your own self, how can you help save someone else? So taking this time to check in with your mind and seeing if you can give yourself the compassion, the forgiveness, patience that you would give to your best friend. So take another few moments here just to check in with yourself. When you're ready to start coming out of Shavasana, start with your breath. Maybe taking deeper inhales and pressing out the exhales a little bit. Wiggle out fingers and toes, small muscles in the face. And roll yourself to one side whenever you're ready to allow your practice to settle in your body. before pressing up to seated whenever you're ready. Take your time. When you arrive at seated, ground your sit bones downward into the earth. Grow your spine up tall. Take an inhale and sweep your palms up into the sky. Exhale, palms together down to heart center. And take a bow to yourself, your body, your classmates. Thank you so much for showing up today. Take very, very good care of yourselves.